How's it going, everyone? I know it's been a while since I posted on this channel, but I'm gonna try to change that a little bit. And earlier this month, Wave 6 of the Booster Force Pass released, and I think it's time to talk about it. We got 8 new tracks, the final 8 tracks of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so this infinity-lasting Mario Kart can finally be over. So I'm gonna talk about them, how I feel about them, my thoughts, in the order that, like, from, in my opinion, the worst to the best. So it's kind of like a ranking video too, and just a review of the wave in general. So starting things off, I actually have my least favorite track as the first one of the wave, and that is Rome Avante. It's a pretty cool track, a little simple, it's a city track though from Tour, so kind of gotta expect that. Cool music, just chill vibes. I don't think any track in this wave is bad, I'm just gonna put that out there here right now. I think all of these tracks are really good, like all of them are at least 8 out of 10s. And Rome Avante is no exception to that. I like the lights in it, I like all the multiple paths actually, for once. And like, it's not the best looking track, but again, it's from Mario Kart Tour. And that ending section in the Coliseum with the chain chomps, that's one of the coolest things. And like, it's a good introductory track to the wave. I don't think it should have been Wave 6, but like, I think due to release timing, that's why it's here. And yeah, it's just a really good track. Then next up, in 7th place, this one might be a little bit controversial, but I have the second track of the wave, DK Mountain. Now DK Mountain always has been a cool track. However, the remix, I don't think the music was ever great, but the remix, I'm just not a fan of. And the track just looks overall easier. Like, you know, the bridge at the end, that used to be like really hard to get across, always really scary in the older games like the Wii and GameCube. But now here, they made it wider and they made it a lot easier to get across because it's just waving for you to trick off of instead of like shaking around in the older games and you can get bumped off easily. That's also due to the physics, but yeah. But one thing I can really say is great about this track, they kept the shortcut from Wii. I'm very happy about that. I love the Wii shortcuts and I want to see them all stay. So that's a plus. And also, in addition to that, the visuals, this track looks amazing. Like the ramps they had in the Wii game, they replaced and put it on the mountain, which I think it should have been from the start, but it looks great. The mountain itself looks great, like Tour. It looks a little similar to Tour, but all these do it. This looks way better than Tour, leagues better. Like Tour's just plastic, this looks almost on par as the base game. So yeah, might not be my favorite track, but it's still a great one. There's only gripes with it where it's easier, and the music, like music's a big part of the tracks for me too. So it's just not my favorite, but still a great track. Now in 6th place, sticking with the first cup, but we're skipping over one, we're over to Piranha Plant Cove. Now first of all, this theming is great. We don't really get underwater ruins in Mario Kart a lot, if ever. This is actually going to be the first one, so I think that's really cool. In addition to that, like, it's just a really unique track. Like the different paths, like I don't like that there's branching paths, but you know, it fits the track, it makes it interesting. There's thwomps, like the obstacles, and the staircase at the beginning. I think like the above water section at the beginning, like the ruinsy part, is really cool. It's probably my favorite part of the track actually. And for a Tour track, it's actually got a lot of complexity to it. And the obstacles, like the thwomps, the ramps you can go on to dodge the thwomps. And now that one thing, that turn at the very beginning of lap 3 catches me off guard all the time. I think that should be a little simpler, but it's the last wave, so glad we're getting a little harder tracks here. But yeah, that's a little confusing. But overall, pretty cool track, pretty good. I like it. Now next up in 5th place, we have Madrid Drive. Now Madrid Drive is a pretty cool city course, I gotta say. It's like, this is my first time playing Madrid Drive. I stopped playing Tour before it came out, so for me it was a new track and I liked it. And I gotta say, god damn, the music is phenomenal on Madrid Drive. I love it. One of my favorite Mario Kart songs ever, probably my favorite from Tour. And the obstacles, like the chain jump and the wiggler, I think that's really cool. And like some of the turns are tough, but we want that for the last cup of the game. So I think it's really cool with that. Think of that museum area. That museum area looks great. The paintings in there are really nice. And then you have my favorite part of the track. You drive through a soccer field towards the end, and then to exit it, you go through the goal, and there's like shouting in the background, like to prove it's a game. I think that's a great touch to the track. It makes it a lot more fun to play. So Nintendo really did well with that one. It's a great Final City track to both Tour and Mario Kart 8. Now moving on to the top half of the list. Here's one that I was not expecting to come back in any capacity, but it came back not only to Tour but here, and that is Bowser Castle 3 from the SNES. Now first of all, compared to the other SNES tracks we have in the game like Donut Plains 3, Mario Circuit 3, this one looks great. You cannot even recognize those on the SNES anymore. I think that's great because the SNES tracks were fairly simple. This one was frustrating on the SNES too, so I like what they did with it. Looks phenomenal. Looks on par with the original game. And not only that, it is the second Bowser Castle in the game with 96 tracks. I think we should have gotten some more, but this one's still great. I'm glad we got it. And then you have that section with the different paths, and there's this narrow pass at the top you can get items on. Always a challenge there, and that one's great. Then you have the bottom paths that just are normal, but they're still great, and all the anti-gravity sections, like we saw in the first wave of the Booster Course Pass, we didn't think we were going to get many anti-gravity sections. Then here we got a ton of them, and just overall it's a fantastic track, and it still is faithful to the original like layout-wise. And you can trick out the thwomps at the end. I think that's really cool. The end's a really cool part of the track too. Like it's simple, but it's nice. You can trick out the thwomps. You can trick off a ramp. And then the Kirby staircase sections, they're still just as like cool as you'd expect them. Like the chains, or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. A thin layer over the lava. And those things look great in this game. The visuals on this track are just really good, especially compared to the other ones we got from Super Mario Kart and the Booster Course Pass, like Mario Circuit 3. So now we have our top 3. Now I'm sure 2 of these tracks, a lot of you don't think belong in the top 3. But this first one is probably the most surprising one for me in this entire wave. That is Rosaline's Ice World. I just like the surprise of it, first of all. No one expected this to come. And it's great that it did. Like, I know some people aren't a fan of it, but I am, so that's nice. I like all the galaxy references, like the Comet Observatory just hanging out near the starting line. There's some planet, Good Egg Galaxy. I've not finished Mario Galaxy, but I think that's Good Egg Galaxy, so that's really cool too. The visuals, I'm going to say this for like every track, but the visuals here are great. I don't think it's the best of the wave, but they're still really good. I love the visuals here. And, it looks way better than it did on the 3DS, and I remember like not being a really memorable or good track on the 3DS, and I don't think it's particularly memorable here, but it's still a fun one to play. It's difficult, which is hard to find in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A lot of the tracks feel really easy or dumbed down from the original versions. This one I think might even be a little more difficult, because that first turn, man, that's rough, and drifting off into the off-road is super easy. Then there's that shortcut at the end that I do not think was in the original game, so that's really cool too. And you have the ice melting, proving climate change, whoa, but the ice melting a little bit each lap, so you can't go to the top path without a mushroom, and then you have the top path on ice, underwater section too. That all merges into the cave and all the icicles. Just a really unique track, fun one, difficult one. And then even if you want to take more risks, there's the easy path on the left, and then there's that path on the right with all the boost-it panels, but that are in really awkward drifting spots. So yeah, I think that was a really fun one, really underrated track. I really enjoy it personally. That takes us to our top 2. And no, I do not have Mario Kart Wii bias. I probably do, I'm gonna be so for real, but like, these tracks are just amazing. Now, first of all, Daisy Circuit. Number 2, I think we all knew what number 1 was gonna be from the start, so number 2 is Daisy Circuit. Now, first of all, this is another unexpected track, less unexpected than Rosalie's Ice World, but still another unexpected one. Now, I've always thought this was an underrated track. From Wii, it was already one of my favorites. Like, a lot of people saw it as a dud. It's still good, but not as good as most others. I thought it was up there as one of the better tracks from that game. Like, it's not the best track, we can say that, but it's one of the better tracks from that game. And it's one of the most unique circuit tracks ever. Like, the orangey vibes, then the statues and the dancing, and that staircase shortcut is iconic. I love that staircase shortcut. Then they added a glider ramp to that, and I think that's a good place to add a glider. And like, they didn't change a lot. They added boosted panels. The visuals, I think they looked better in the Wii. I'm gonna be so for real. Like, obviously not overall. Like, Mario Kart Wii's not HD, so obviously they're better in 8 Deluxe. But just the colors, I think they were better in Wii, and I think the music was better in Wii. But they were too good to like perfect again, and they still look great. Like, they're not anything bad. They're just great. And the statues are still great. They didn't change a whole lot, and I don't think a whole lot needed to be changed. So that's a cool track. Then before we get to number 1, I have to say the characters here were phenomenal selections. We cleaned up the characters that weren't in from Mario Kart Wii that are in this game now, Diddy Kong and Funky Kong. Personally, I think Diddy Kong should have been in since the base game, or even Mario Kart 8, but you know, here we are. Funky Kong, I don't think he needed to be in, but it's great that he's here, especially with the addition of this Wii track coming up. Pauline in the spin-offs is a great new character. We want her in a lot since Mario Odyssey. She's gaining more popularity, so I'm glad she's here too. Peachette, I know a lot of people hate her and think she's a wasted character, but we've got 7 great characters. I think there could be an outlier like Peachette. She was like in tour since the very beginning, I think. So it makes sense that she got added. And she's not like a terrible character. Like, I'd prefer her over the metal variants of Peach and Mario any day. So she's cool. She's like advertising the new Mario Bros games, like Mario Bros U Deluxe or whatever. So yeah, she's here. She's cool. She's not my favorite though. Not a terrible pick. But now we have the number 1 track, and probably one of my favorite tracks in all of Mario Kart 8 now, Rainbow Road. Now before I get into praising this track like God, now we have the few things I don't like about it. And those are, the music is not as good, but the music was never going to be as good because Mario Kart Wii's music was perfection. And it's a little bit easier. Like, they added guardrails in a lot of spots there weren't guardrails in the original game. And I think that was really unnecessary and made it a lot less difficult. So I wish they still had the guardrails where they were. But otherwise, this track is amazing. You know, you got the great ending. The music is still nostalgic, especially the second half. They did a great job with the music, even though it's not as good as the Wii. They did a great job for a remake. And the track itself, they didn't change a whole lot, and I don't think a whole lot needed to be changed. Like, it's still just as good as the Wii version was. It's a great ending to the Booster Course Pass. Wii's like really popular in nostalgia right now, so it was a perfect time to bring this back. And you know, just a perfect track. Top 5 in the whole game, maybe even top 3, maybe even first. I don't know, man, but it was an amazing track, and I'm glad we got it. And this is, in all honesty, probably my favorite wave of the entire Booster Course Pass. So yeah, Booster Course Pass was a fun ride. It was rough at the start, but towards the end, it was so worth it. The tour tracks probably being preserved, that's the whole point of it, but you know, Wave 6 really shows that this whole pass was worth it, and it was great. Wave 1 still looks a little rough, Wave 2, but Waves 3 through 6, especially 6, I can say this is the best wave, look phenomenal, especially this one. And I'm glad we got these new tracks, because chances are we aren't going to get a new Mario Kart game for a little bit from now. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.